Next up in the Wild Way to Lucid Dreaming, we'll be going over Slider's actual technique for using Hypnagogia to enter into REM and have a full-on wake-initiated or wake-induced lucid dream. Before that though, just a quick recap. Entering into sleep in such an unconscious manner, as we typically do, automatically results in ordinary, random, non-lucid dreams, something which seems quite obvious if you think about it. Whereas to enter into the sleeping state consciously and deliberately instead results in something else altogether. It results in dreams again, but this time fully lucid ones in which one is completely aware of being in a dreaming state. All right, so here's this experiment also, which I basically just said in the previous video, but we'll recap it here as well. Try a little experiment for yourself tonight when you lie down to sleep. Don't attempt anything unusual as such. Try to simply observe the sleep process as it naturally unfolds for you. Chances are your observations will be cut short as you're suddenly pulled into an unconscious state, but make the attempt anyway, if only to start consciously familiarizing yourself with what is normally a wholly unconscious process. And chances are you will lose your lucidity at some point along that process, but hopefully you can at least get to the very beginning stages of Hypnagogia so you can start to see these soft diffuse lights or the starry night sky thing I was mentioning in the previous video, or maybe a full-on still image, or even better yet, a full-on movie image, kind of like a movie that it is you're watching. All right, so where did it go? All right, here we are. All one really has to do in order to start lucid dreaming is to learn to recognize the stages of falling asleep, find this hypnagogia on the way into it, and then treat your hypnagogic images in a very particular way. Ultimately, it is through hypnagogia that one actually enters into an altered state at all, and lucid dreaming in particular. Should you at any time opt to dream normally again, then by all means just lay back and watch the shifting movie, show images, and before you know it, you'll be fast asleep in no time. And so the way that you would watch it, if you did want to, perhaps purposefully lose your conscious awareness, which I don't see why you would do that, but then you just basically start to follow the narrative, as I was saying again in my previous video, and then you'll get wrapped up in the narrative. You'll lose your lucidity, basically thinks it's happening to you in real time, and then have regular non-lucid dreams and fall asleep like normal. On the other hand, when you want to lucid dream, then all you do is to watch the same movie show again, only this time treating those hypnagogic images by examining their detail in a particular way. And so he doesn't really say it here, but something I found a lot too when you are examining the details of these images, if you try to focus on it and say bring a particular part of the image into focus by using your actual eyes and focusing on it that way, that tends to wake me up basically all the time. So the way I like to pay attention and observe these images is you kind of watch it with a soft diffuse gaze, similar to if you're doing an open eye meditation where you're not staring at something directly, there's a pen right here I'm staring at, but not staring at it super directly and bringing it into focus. You kind of keep a soft gaze, kind of see the space in between it, but then you just lock onto the pen mentally, right? And so that kind of mentally locking onto a specific part of the images is how I like to observe these images and, I'll keep myself from waking up. This conscious act of examining the hypnagogic images, finer details, is the very thing that finally beckons one right into a lucid dream. One is somehow bodily zoomed in, or rather pulled into the image itself, resulting in dreams in which one is already awake. And very often you do get this really awesome body high sensation of being pulled and sucked into the image, although it does not always happen. Not examining the details of those images while just letting yourself drift as usual results in one eventually nodding off and having very ordinary non-lucid dreams. And really that's all there is to it, a simple choice. Newbies to lucid dreaming often find this sudden drastic change of perspective to be a little shocking to say the least, and will immediately start talking to themselves in a very excited manner about how they have finally done it. Wow. They don't realize that this kind of excited behavior, both mental and emotional, is virtually guaranteed to quickly end the whole experience prematurely. This dough factor, like Homer says dough in The Simpsons, this dough factor is a common feature that is basically unavoidable for all newbies until they learn in dreaming to turn on their heel with impunity and go off exploring instead of standing around congratulating themselves on having arrived. This is something that everyone goes through at the beginning. persists, however, and in the end, your ability to enter quite consciously into a dreaming state and then maintain it for longer and longer periods of time will bloom, eventually opening up a whole new world to be explored and enjoyed entirely at your own leisure. Hypnagogia is the key that genuinely opens that door. So with that said, that'll wrap it up. I might make another video on Hypnagogia, although I have literally tons and tons of those things, but we'll see. Anyway, until then, keep your hypnagogic and your meditation practice and your lucid dreaming practice legit.